everybody. Welcome back to day 3 of the Her Story Online Summit in May. This is Gertrude Matcha here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand. My co host, please introduce yourselves. Tell everybody where you are.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time we find you at. My name is Ruth Dengwani. I am in Harare in Zimbabwe.
Thank you,
Hello,
Ruth.
everybody. I am Terry Weems from the state of Indiana, and we have sunshine today in the United States of America.
Fantastic. So, ladies, we have an amazing lineup of speakers. We have one speaker who will probably show up in a few minutes live. I have sent her the link. So we will get started with our first speaker on the schedule, and we will tag team. Terry, you read one bio, Ruth, you read one bio, and we'll go through our list of amazing women who've contributed their stories.
Awesome.
Okay, who do we have first, Terry?
I have Bria Ellis, or Els. Okay, she's a design and construction professional with 10 years of experience. She has a master in interior architecture and international real estate, certificates, project management, Atelier Honnet, helps homeowners and renovation project planning, such as setting reasonable budget, vetting, etc. Focusing on healthcare design, overseeing construction at hospitals. And Bria says that the emotional well-being and physical space are interrelated. And because of that, we create intentional interiors. We are experts at maintaining the practicality, of the design with cost-efficient approach without sacrificing aesthetics. Simplicity, subtracting noise, and adding meaning are the heart of our practice. I introduce to you Bria.
Thank you, Terry.
Hi, Gertrude. Thanks for having me on the show. My name is Bria Els. I'm 40 years old. I am based in Miami, Florida, in the United States. And I think one of the great stories, experience that I have that I would love to share is just the journey of transitioning from being a 9 to 5 and transitioning to have your own business. So I quit my 9 to 5 job, a senior executive working for Pfizer, in construction and facilities. In August last year, I came back from a trip from Panama, and I was like, you know what? It's time for me to just part ways. And ever since August till now, I've been on the course, charting the waters of being a solo entrepreneur. One thing I want to share that is that as a small business owner, especially as a solo, the last few months has been very how can I say that? Emotional, a roller coaster that has led to waves of depression, waves of self-doubt, sense of isolation, and just an overall an emotional journey. But also, yet, I still have to push through those emotional barriers or emotional sentiments in order for me to still be able to have the business going, getting the clients, having projects. Like I tell people, I only eat what I kill. So if I'm not out there talking to clients, getting my business in front of people, I do not have any source of revenue. But one thing I want to share also is that during this last few months, I am actually on a show with AGT. I'm on a TV show with AGTV as a designer. So I've been filming in the last few months, and that has been quite an experience. I never thought that I would have such an opportunity, and also just the experience of being on camera. It's something that is very, how can I say that? self-conscious, makes you self-conscious to see yourself on camera or on TV. And we had an episode that a try episode that aired, broadcasted in December, and it was just a revealing moment just to see myself on TV, international broadcasting channel, one of the most watched channel in the world, and to know that millions of people get to see what I do and get to share my passion and get to share what I'm like, my skill sets and my knowledge. So I'm super excited for this upcoming year, and I'm looking to dive more into my personal journey with you, Gertrude.
Absolutely wonderful to have you with us today. And what a journey you are on. I know the feelings you are going through, having been a serial entrepreneur for the last 21 years. But the beautiful thing about these emotions is that they pass. And just knowing that our emotions are like our children, they come and go. And if you've got little kids and they want your attention, if you push them away, they come even more. So sometimes you just have to sit with it until it passes through you and just keep your eye on the goal. I'm really excited that you're going down this road.
Yes, it's as you said. I think that is what has made me held on, and I it's the idea of the end goal, right? The destination, to get to that destination. And I know that there's going to be bumps. It's not going to be a smooth ride, right? I have to go uphill, downhill, cross over water, charter through waters. My car might break down, but it's just the process of getting there. But I still think, as no matter how much, I'm a very positive person. Everybody, I have been told that I'm very strong and whatnot. So I'm a very positive person, and I don't like to complain to the world, because I am one that is very mindful that I bear the consequences of my decision. So no one has forced me to leave my job and to go into entrepreneurship. So I tend to bear everything and say, okay, I'm going to chug through and whatnot. But still, I can't help myself from having those thoughts, right? Having the thoughts of, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? Was it smart? Should I have left my full-time job that was paying me very well, six figures, and I had a comfortable a hefty bank account, I have benefits. So it's like, okay, am I good enough? Are the people really care what I do? Am I good at what I'm doing? Is this the businesses that I have put together, are they going to succeed? So it's like going through that, and then you have moments of success and wins, and you're like, yes. And it sits there for like maybe an hour, and then everything comes back. Oh my God, I have to pay bills. I have to pay the rent. I have to pay my independent contractors. I have to pay everything. I have to get on a plane. I have to do this. So it's like, even when you're winning, for me, I only have few hours of enjoying it. And I think one of the biggest, the hardest thing for me to experience is just going through this has not given me the time. I usually to spend time with my close ones, my close friends and family, because it's so consuming. As I tell to people, I am HR, I am marketing, I am the janitorial, I'm the CFO, I'm the CEO, I'm the secretary, I'm the administrator, I'm the architect, I'm the reviewer, I'm the technical drafter. So I am all in one, many people. And even the few hours I have where I have downtime, my downtime is me sleeping. That is basically it. Every single hour of
So
the day I'm
exhausted.
occupied. I am exhausted. And even when I'm sleeping, I am still thinking. The brain doesn't quiet yourself, even though your body is late. Even you're in resting mode physically, doesn't mean your brain is in resting mode. So it's this last year is interesting, and I've overcome a lot of challenges, and I know there's more to come. But it's still I still think that, and I still think that in the entrepreneur world, that's something that should be talked about more. It's just those feelings, because I was depressed for 3 months, but I was functionally depressed, meaning that.
Let
And
me ask you this. What made you decide to leave your day job and go down this road?
Well, I've always wanted to do things my way. I'm just joking. No, I just felt that I have accumulated quite a amount of experience and knowledge and credential, and I thought it was time for me to take all that experience and knowledge that I've amassed and put it together and package it and put into something that I thought that will be usable, that will be useful for other people, right? I felt that with that experience, everything I've packaged together, there's a lot of people out there that could benefit from my services. I'm in a construction and design industry. I've seen what friends and family have gone through with contractors. I've heard the horror stories. And I was like, well, what if there was just another contractor or designer out there that is a very honest person, is able to help people go through renovation smoothly, is able to help them design and custom build their home and take them through the journey where it's transparent. They don't feel like it's a hindrance to them financially, physically, or it's just a trifle, like it's a hard process. So I said, what if I could be the light in someone's life, in their construction journey or projects they're on taken. And I decided, well, you know what? It's time that I bet on myself. I've been working a lot in corporate. I had an executive job, and now it's time for me to put my how do I say it? I need to take myself to the bank. And I need to cash that check that I always tell people, like, you could do anything you set your mind to. So I set my mind to open my own business, my boutique design and build firm. And I took that and took it to the bank.
So the day you made the decision, what was the feeling you had? Imagine that there's somebody listening to us right now who is so fed up with their day job, so just wanting to branch out and do something for themselves. What made you decide that this was the right move?
The first thing is fear, right? Fear and doubt. You're charting in on the unknown. But for me, I come from a project management background, so planning is a big part of what I do. So at first I had fear, and then fear got replaced with, okay, let's start planning. I know what I'm doing. I know how I could do it. Let's start budgeting. But the decision it took me 6 months after I decided that I'm going to go this path, because I wanted to make sure that I have enough expense. I could cover at least 1 year of my expenses, my day to day, my bills, my personal bills, everything was covered. And I also had money left in my bank account for rainy days, right? So I knew that for me, financial stress is something that I didn't want to bear, and I know how hard it is. So I had to start planning. Okay, let's plan financially for this, and let's go. And I'm in. But I think the first thing is fear, and then the second feeling that I still feel today is adrenaline, like this rush of, okay, yes, I'm in it. It's like I'm taking I'm taking the bull by the horn. I'm riding this bull. It's wavy. Although I say there's a negative to it, but there's a certain high to it also. And I think it's just an experience. Like I said, it's an emotional roller coaster. I do want to say that I have great support. I have friends and family that check in with me. I have friends and family that have supported me more emotionally, mentally. When I'm in doubt, I call them and say, "Hey, this is how I'm feeling." I express myself to them, and they help me walk through it. So I must say that I'm very fortunate to have loved ones that has given me their time and has allowed me to express myself, and has been a great support system. So I think anyone going through this is two things: just to make sure you're financially secured to at least for a year to untake the journey, because nobody wants to be in a financial pinch. And also make sure that you have a support system, because you will need a support system to go through this. And make sure you have a psychologist also on call. Because I tap in with mine once a month, my psychologist, and we have 2-hour sessions. And it's a great thing for me, because that's when I'm able to truly download everything I want that I can't share with my brother or my best friends, because it's just something I don't want to burden them with. But I have a psychologist that I could share everything, my bad, my goods, and I have that
Yeah.
freedom to just share it all with her.
I love it. I'm going to share your website, and I believe that's your Instagram handle. So people who might be interested in contacting you can do that. But tell me, if time was an illusion and I could take you to the future, you're now 100 years old, you're sitting in your rocking chair, and you're reflecting back on this amazing life that you're creating for yourself. You're literally scripting which way you want your life to go.
Yes.
If you could have a conversation with that older woman based on how you're living your life right now, what would you say to her?
Breathe. You should have taken more breath. You should have breathed more. It was going to be okay. It ended up being okay. And I would have told myself now, I guess at that point, is just have a little bit more faith in yourself and have like a pinch of faith, let faith carry you. And you've done everything you could possibly do. So now it's more about believing in yourself and believing that the course that you're taking is the right course, and focus. And I think at 100 years old, sitting in my rocking chair in the south of France, on my patio, I'm saying, thank God I focused. Thank God I had focus. I had a dream. I had a goal, and I just kept my eyes on on that goal, and it has led me to be where I am today.
Fantastic. So now let's go to your customers, that one person who is thinking about remodeling her kitchen or her bathroom. And if you could give her advice on the things to look out for before you embark on this journey. A lot of women get burnt, like you said. We jump into these projects without knowing what we're really getting ourselves into. Do you have some kind of a checklist, a step by step? This is what you need to do before you start, and how to pick the right people.
Yes, I think there's two big pieces. I always see that people, most clients, or just hearing from story, people that are going to construction projects, is one, understand the cost of items, understand the cost of building, get a sense of cost, how much it costs to build in your area. If you're building a custom home, call around, shop around, get a sense of it, go online. You'll get an idea of what's the cost per square footage roughly it's going to cost you, right? Two, also, is before hiring a contractor, do your due diligence, have a conversation with your contractor, interview them, give them scenarios. If this happened, what would happen? And also just I always say that you could just go to your local business, your business website, and search their names. Are they registered? Are they licensed? Are they, do they have great reviews? And what are their reference, like past clients that they've had, they could refer you to, and you could see what they've done. And also, have you seen their work? Have you walked the house that they've built before or designed? And a third thing also, I think, is that a lot of times I do see that most people go into construction projects, they rush the design part of things, the planning part. They rush because they go into a construction project with, I have a tight time frame. I need to get this done by then. I need to move into the house by then. The house needs to build by then. And what happened is that they skip that planning part and just literally run through it and stumble into construction. And while they're in the construction phase, this is where they're trying to figure out everything, and it's just going to cost you more money. Because typically what will happen is that a contractor will price you more for a project that's not very well defined, because he needs to make cushion, absorb, in case that, hey, if you come back wanting this and more, they need to make sure that they have a cushion for all the unknown. So I always tell clients, spend your time planning. I always say, I'd rather spend 6 months planning a designing construction project, but I spend 4 months building. So versus designing, planning for 1 month, and then I end up in a project for a year or 2 years because of poor planning. And then, or clients that end up just getting change orders after change orders. They start a project, it's going to cost them 150. By the time they're done, they're at 200 and $215,000 in the project. And typically, what is the source of that is just poor planning. So I think I would say that a lot of clients or anyone that's about to go into a renovation, a new build, really take your time to plan, understand the costs, and also understand the process. Once you have a sense of what the process is like, it gives you some type of certainty and also sometimes a confidence about how you're going to be navigating from the planning to your actually the turnover of the project.
Fantastic. Those are some really good tips for any potential clients who are going to be coming your way. It's all about slowing down to speed up, planning, 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 and being meticulous about it as well. Well, this
Correct.
has been an amazing interview. I'm really excited that we got to meet you. And I would love to stay in touch and find out what happens 6 months from now, a year from now. I always tell new entrepreneurs that it's like buying a new pair of shoes. First time you put them on, they're tight, they're uncomfortable, but the more you wear them, the more comfortable it gets. And you just end up being an employee in your own business and dictating how much you will make, and nobody's paying you a salary to do it. So
True.
have lots of fun on this new journey you're on. I'm really excited for you. Thank you for coming and sharing your story, because a lot of entrepreneurs need to know the truth about leaving your day job and going down this road. It's not easy, but it is doable. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Gertrude, for having me. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you in the future to tell you and also to share my journey with you 6 months from now.
Fantastic. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story movement is attracting some fascinating women. You know, I wake up every morning, I have no idea who I'm going to talk to, I have no idea what stories are coming out. And this is why I do what I do. I believe we can change the world one woman at a time, one story at a time. And it's when we start sharing these stories that we uplift, inspire, and energize each other. So, Bria, thank you so much for being a part of the movement and a part of our tribe. Oh, wow.
Oh, here I am.
Very
How are
excited.
you?
Hello, Sarah. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yeah.
Hello,
So that
Sarah.
was Miss
Welcome.
Hi.
Bria.
Hi.
So, Sarah is a wonderful woman who I recently interviewed, and I couldn't get enough. I just had to continue our conversation, and I invited her to come and be with us today and share her story during the summit. She is an actress, she is an artist, one of the most creative women I have ever met. So,
Aw.
Sarah, the drill
Yes.
is the same. You're going to introduce yourself, tell everybody where you are,
Sure.
and share your story with us today.
Okay. Um, my name is Sarah Jillian, and I'm in Toronto, Canada. And my story goes like this. I started when I was very young, um, being an artist, and um, I guess I was maybe 3 or 4 years old when I started drawing and having a real interest in drawing. But at the same time, I had a real thing about entertaining. I really wanted to be an entertainer. So my parents got me a little tutu, and I started uh, putting on little performances as a ballerina. And I really wanted to be a ballerina. But going to ballet school meant that I would have to leave home and go and stay overnight at ballet school. And my parents didn't really want to do that. So I ended up at about 6 years old taking acting classes. And I was quite happy to do that. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be an actress. That was my goal. But all along, not only was I taking the acting classes, but this is at 6 years old, I was also doing a lot of artwork at home. And because I was doing my artwork, my parents would take my artwork and frame it, and it inspired me to do a line of cards. So I went to the printer with my cards that I wanted to run off and sell. And I was about 8 years old, 8 or 9, I think. And and they said, "Wow, this artwork is quite interesting. Why don't we
Looks
do
like
sh- do you want me to continue?
yeah, you are freezing. Your connection is
Oh, is
freezing.
it?
I'm not sure if you're aware of it.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's breaking up.
Oh, really? I
Yes.
wonder why.
Are you on Wi-Fi or on your phone?
No, I'm on the computer, as it's the
I,
same
I,
as last time.
okay. Yeah, you keep freezing,
Oh,
but continue. I'll
okay.
make
Should
you
I
aware.
just continue with my story?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when I went to the gallery or when I went to the place to run off the cards, they said, "This is quite fascinating artwork. Why don't we do a little show?" So they put some art on the
Yeah,
walls.
that's a problem.
It is.
Sarah keeps
Hmm.
freezing. So Sarah,
Yes.
you keep freezing. Do you have data on your phone and try and connect through your phone instead?
Yeah, we could do it. We could do it through the phone. Sure.
Okay.
Um, it- uh, I have the link and
Let's try that. I know
okay.
quite a few people have been challenged with their Wi-Fi connections, but we want to hear your story all in
Yeah.
one hit, and it keeps on freezing every two
Oh, that's
minutes.
too bad. Okay, so I went to the link and open in Safari. So if I open it in Safari,
It's frozen again, right, Terry?
let me see.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah.
Probably Chrome would be a lot better than Safari.
Is there anything I can do?
Are you on Google Chrome?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was the same as the last
Last
time.
time.
It says
Hmm.
open. It goes. It says copy. Go to the Safari page. Um, I don't know. Let me see. I don't know.
Or
When I go to,
alternatively, I could play the video we recorded
okay, I'm
and then
trying. Okay. Maybe this is working. Okay, it's copied, and then what? You press this, and then I think I'm getting it. I think because I'm not very good technically. So so if I open it here,
yeah, she keeps
Google,
freezing.
and okay, link you copied, and then it's going there, and then sheesh. Oh, wait,
Technology is great when it works. When it fails us,
yeah. But it's here. It's on my Google thing, and I don't know why it won't open. Let me see. There must be a way. Download it. Oh, uh, cancel. Oh, sheesh. On your phone. Okay. Downloads.
yeah, she's definitely got a connectivity issue today.
Yeah, I'm so
We did a
sorry.
good interview the other day with no issues.
I know, and it was the same thing. It was the
Terry, are
same.
you muted? I can't hear you if you're saying.
Really, it was the same. It was the same. Uh, off. I didn't do anything different. I just went to the same link.
She's
No, what
not
I'm
freezing
saying
on
is sometimes it's just the Wi-Fi connection that has an issue. And if you can get in on your phone and use your cell phone data, that might work better.
That's what, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I don't know why it won't go there. Maybe if I go to my Google app.
So let's do this, Sarah. While you're figuring that out, we'll play
Yes.
one more video to give you time and you takes you off pressure.
Okay, thank
Just
you.
come back in on your phone. We'll see you in the background there. We'll just play another speaker's video in the meantime.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'll try.
Who do we have next, ladies? Who's reading the next bio?
I believe Ruth is.
Miss Ruth?
It's Megan's bio. Am I
Okay.
also freezing?
No, you're good.
So I'll read Megan's bio. So Megan Rose is a spiritual advisor and intuitive tarot card reader based out of Los Angeles. Additionally, she is the resident taroscope writer at Glamour magazine, a certified Reiki master in the Usui lineage, meditation teacher, and RY200 yoga instructor, bringing years of training to each client she works with. Originally from New England, Megan Rose moved across the country to LA to study alternative healing practices and deepen her own practice of holistic spiritual wellness. Her work has morphed into a beautiful combination of authenticity, enlightenment, and love. With continued studies and spiritual experiences, her goal is to provide her clients with a sacred healing space where they are able to separate their traumas from their truth. She continues her own personal healing journey with yoga, meditation, Reiki energy healing, and intuitive readings, believing that the ability to heal others starts with healing ourselves. She has worked with brands such as OUAI, Theragun, Dimalogica, Michelob, Gojana, Astro the Label, Unati Foundation, and many more, hoping to bring spiritual practices to the mainstream with a focus on inclusion and acceptance.
Hello, Gertrude. Thank you so much for having me. So, my name is Megan Rose. I am based in Los Angeles. I'm 27 years old, and I'm currently out here working as a spiritual advisor. So, my story started off in rural New Hampshire, so New England, the northeast of the United States. I grew up originally in a town with less than 1,000 people as the population and ended up putting myself through traditional schooling systems, growing up with a traditionally Catholic practicing family. And I think I was probably the last person to expect that my story would end up where it is now, let alone my family and the people that grew up with me. So different from where I started, but I ended up moving out to Los Angeles just 2 months after my degree was done. So I went to school for marketing management and small business development and ended up working in finance throughout the time that I was in school full time. So I was working full time, going to school full time, and it ended up leading me on a one-way ticket to LA 2 months after my degree was done. And I continued on with a pretty normalized career in finance, ending up with a six-figure job at 23 years old in private investments. And at that point, I had been in finance for around 7 years total. And I remember getting in my car one day, seeing the GPS tell me that it was going to take 2 hours and 5 minutes to get back to my apartment in traditional LA fashion. And I actually utilized that time sitting in standstill traffic to write my resignation letter. I had no idea where I was going, no idea what I was going to pursue, but I did take that time to connect with myself and, tapped in with Reiki energy healing, ended up getting gifted a tarot deck by my partner at the time and working with a mentor to start to learn how to read tarot cards, and walked down the street from my apartment at that time to a meditation studio. And I remember walking in, telling them, it doesn't matter what I'm doing as long as I'm in here working. And they were thrilled with that. Of course, who doesn't want someone that's hungry to work in your space? And I ended up working for minimum wage and hadn't made that little money since high school. So it was a huge ego blow, so many different things coming up, financial triggers, identity triggers. Who am I? What am I doing? How am I going to survive, from the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, just trying to get my basic needs met at that point, living in one of the largest metropolitan cities on the world. So just, 2 weeks in, we had a shift in management and I ended up taking the studio manager role. So after that point, had been studying tarot, had already gotten all of my certifications in Reiki energy healing. And the way the world works, when you listen to your gut, we had our Reiki teacher not show up for her fully booked class. And I remember calling the owner of the studio and she was like, "We need you to jump in." So that day I led my first meditation class and it just continued to move in that momentum and in that direction. Not even a full year and a half later, in the space with the clientele that I had been reading for family and friends. They told me, "You need to start charging for these tarot readings," and got my own clientele, my own roster of people that were not only connected, but very happy with the services that they were getting, and convinced me to start doing this full time. So my last day at the meditation studio was Valentine's Day of 2020. And I'm sure as many people will know where this is going, the city of Los Angeles happened to shut down just 2 weeks later. I remember calling my mom at that point and being like, "Is my childhood bedroom still open? I'm probably going to end up coming back home." And she, being the lovely, supportive person that she is, was like, "Carry through, you know what to do." So the world shut down, really. And I transitioned all of my work online, leading workshops, classes, taking all of my clients virtually. And it not only survived, but it started thriving. And I look at where I'm at now to where I began. And I think my story is the perfect example for the clients that I work with now, to let them know it does not matter where you are. If you want to end up somewhere else, you can make it happen.
That is absolutely inspiring, Megan. Absolutely wonderful. Now, you were able to pivot at a very, very, very difficult time. I want to take you back a few steps. What made you decide to quit your job? What had actually happened for you to do that just impromptu? Because a lot of women hold on to jobs because they need them, they're scared, the fear of, what am I going to do next? What if it fails? What was it that made you make that decision and leave?
For me, it wasn't a matter of whether this was the financially sound decision. It wasn't, is this the smart thing for me to do? But being someone who had grown up in discomfort, someone who had grown up without money or feeling a level of inclusion, whether that was in my family dynamic or with friends, not really feeling a sense of community as I was growing up, I was comfortable with discomfort from the get-go, which is why I always tell people, your story doesn't need to be perfect. You don't need to be fully prepared before you make big jumps. You can actually get a lot of that influence to make uncomfortable decisions because of the discomfort that you've already experienced. So I preface that just letting people know I didn't grow up with money. I didn't grow up with healthy community support. So a lot of my reliance in life came from myself already at that point. So when I was in this job, feeling completely misaligned with what I was doing, the work that I was doing, the type of lifestyle that I was living, working 10-hour shifts with an hour commute in and as I mentioned earlier, sometimes upward of 2-hour commutes back home. I just went home that day and realized I'm spending more than 50% of my life right now doing something that I don't feel passionately about. So the decision came from wanting to prioritize my happiness and my passion before my financial stability and security. And at that point, it was a true dedication to the vision that I saw of myself living in alignment, living happy, and living with passion and purpose that drove me. And I definitely accredit some of that jump to the use of credit cards as well. So for the time being, after that jump happened pretty immediately, it was very financially unstable. I won't sugarcoat it. I was not living lavishly for at least a couple of years before this really took off.
I love the fact that you just had the faith that this was going to work out. It's almost like jumping off a cliff without a parachute and knowing you'll grow your wings on the way down, right?
Absolutely. I could not have said it better.
And then just hustling, using your credit cards to keep you going until that cash flow came in. So if you could have a conversation with the younger you and give her 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up to this point, what would you say to her? So that if there's another young person who's listening to this interview, your story becomes a bit of light at the end of the tunnel for them.
I would let that younger version of myself know that when the emotions are high and the overwhelm feels unbearable, that it's temporary, that the feelings that you have right now are not going to dictate where you end up. So to start to look at the thoughts and emotions that pass through us as just that, passerbys, start to observe them and understand that when you feel scared, it doesn't mean that you're on the wrong path. Really, some of the most monumental pivots that have happened in my life came from moments where I was extremely scared and overwhelmed, but it was coupled with a feeling of excitement. So those moments where you feel fear and excitement at the same time, go for those. I would also say to my younger self that your opinion of yourself is not only the most important opinion, but it's the only opinion that matters. So even if your friends, your closest friends, your family, your partner, your colleagues doubt you and your dreams, don't give up on yourself. Your belief and your faith is the most important thing that will keep you going. And lastly, I would say that no one here knows what they're doing. We look out all of the time for comparison to see what other people are doing, how other people got successful, what makes other people happy, who has the best body, clothes, cars, hair, makeup, partner or partnership. And none of that can tell you what is right for you more than your inner voice can. So to always come back to what's a yes for you and a no for you, rather than what's a yes and a no, right or wrong for other people.
You've touched on 2 really important things in that answer. Our emotions come and go. That self-doubt, that can I really do it, the imposter syndrome feelings, they come and go, and you just have to allow them to be until they pass through you, right? I was reading a book the other day that said that your emotions are like your children. When they come, you shouldn't push them away, because the more you push them away, the more they want your attention. So that's one thing that you really touched on that makes sense to me. But the other thing you've touched on is your intuition. Now, Women are very intuitive by nature, but a lot of women don't know how to trust their intuition. I describe intuition like a muscle, that the more you use it, the stronger it gets, and the stronger it gets, the more you use it. So how do you feel your intuition talking to you? For me, it's a voice that comes in my head that says, go left, go right. What does that feel like for
So Gertrude, mine is very similar to yours, where I will hear that voice. A very recent example of this, and I want to share this only because when people think of intuition, they think it always has to be really big or it needs to be spiritually inclined. Like the messages that you get also have to be spiritual in nature. And like you said, your intuition is a muscle. So flexing it in the small moments is kind of like doing a low impact workout, doing Pilates, doing something that doesn't require you to break a sweat, but it still builds these tiny muscles. So the example that happened to me recently, I went out on, we'll call it a Monday, and wore brown boots and a floral dress. And I realized at that time when I was trying to pair certain things together to make an outfit that I didn't have any brown purses. So the next day, I go to a doctor's appointment that I had in the morning. And I remember leaving and driving up a street that I hadn't been to. And it ended up leading me to a thrift shop that I love, but I had never come from that direction. So that's the first part of this intuitive kind of journey. Then I get in there and I go over to the section that has purses and heard this voice that said, wait for the right one, don't settle, and you will be pleasantly surprised. Absolute insanity. Like, so clear when it came through. So I didn't love any of the purses in that section. Got up to the register, was a little bit disappointed only because that was really the only thing that I wanted or needed. And as I'm standing checking out, I see on the end cap of the men's jeans a brown purse. So I asked the cashier to wait before he checked me out, and I go over, and it's not only a purse for $19, but it's a Prada purse. And I couldn't believe it. You know, these things that happen to us where our expectations are exceeded, right? Like, it's not only financially feasible for me to now have this designer bag, but I listened to all of these different voices that came into my head. So I tell stories like this, not only to you and your community, but to my clients as well, because I think it's important for women, especially, to understand that our inherent gift of intuition has been silenced. It's been shushed for so long, especially in this very patriarchal society that we live in, where intuition hasn't had a seat at the table for a very long time. It's been discredited and illegitimized for so many years. And my belief in that is because there truly is a superpower behind it. There is something completely irrational and indescribable within the power of female intuition that is really capable of taking over. If we listen to our inner voice in the small moments, when we get to those big moments, it feels so much more accessible. So if you can listen to find the bag, you'll be way more open to the moments where it's time to shift your career or make some other big life-changing decision when that inner voice comes in.
Oh my gosh. I just got goosebumps. So I'm from Africa. I'm from Zimbabwe. It's probably one of the poorest countries in Southern Africa.
Mhm.
Grew up poor in a village with no electricity, no running water. Love designer outfits, handbags, but I never buy anything new. And like you, I go into these thrift shops and I am guided to some of the most exquisite clothes and handbags. And people who see me think I spend a lot of money on clothing. I don't buy anything over $50. And I'm like you, that voice guides you. And you're right. You do it like an experiment. And then you start hearing it, and it's like a whisper in the beginning, and then it gets louder and stronger. Sometimes for me, when I meet people, it's a feeling I have around someone. They either energize me or they drain my energy.
Yes.
And if they energize me, I know I'm supposed to connect with them. And then magical things happen. And we look back 3-5 years later on how we met, and the magic has happened. So you've touched on so many things with just that one answer. I'm just so excited to have met you, because you can have everything you want in life.
Yes.
And there is something in this universe. I'm not religious. I consider myself as being very spiritual. And the only way I can describe my life is that I have had a spirit-led life.
Ooh, that's so powerful.
And spirit is working on a minute by minute, day by day basis for me. And women need to know that, and they need to tune into that.
Yes.
To create extraordinary lives with very little. So I think the advantage that you and I both have is that we grew up not having.
Mm-hmm.
For women who are born in privilege, where they have access to everything, I think that intuitive sense gets, like you said, suppressed in some way. I have had to hustle my whole life. I have a radar for business like you cannot believe. You could throw me in the middle of the desert and I will find something entrepreneurial to help me survive.
Yes.
So you're working with a lot of wealthy clients in the US. I've been cyber stalking you. I read your bio. You've got some real A-lister type of people that you help.
Yeah.
What is your advice to a woman who has never not had anything? How do you help them navigate this space?
So I think Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes said it the best in her book, Women Who Run with Wolves. So talks a lot about feminine archetypes and mythology so women can better understand their path. And I apply this to women who have been born with a lot of money, those who have been born without, those who have been born with inherent beauty by society standard, and those without. It's the entire spectrum of the feminine reality. And I'll say the same to both people, which is we have these opportunities to go through initiations. And when you are faced with difficulty, you have more of those opportunities because it's a complete and total breakdown of your subconscious and your feeling or sense of safety. So you use those opportunities like crossroads, where you either have the opportunity to fall victim to what is happening to you, or you have the opportunity to use what is happening to you as a catalyst to move you in the direction that you want to go. So it really all depends on your willingness to see life in that way. And my work is really here to heal the subconscious. So the parts of the mind that are keeping you back from living a fulfilled, aligned, thriving life. I myself in my own journey have been, I used to say, a victim of multiple types of abuse, but now looking at the life that I live and how happy and aligned that I am after the fact, those things did not hold me victim. I feel victorious. I'm a victor to the things that I have been through. I look at my clients, men and women alike, but really hone this in for my female clients, regardless of where they started, where they are now, and where they want to go. And let them know every opportunity you have in life to grow is being handed to you. And it may not look the same way. It may not be handed to you on a shiny silver platter with a gold bow on top of it. It might look a lot like a breakdown that ends up turning into a breakthrough if you allow it to. So it's just letting yourself look at life and its difficulties and its challenges as opportunities and initiations. So much easier said than done. And I don't want to take away from people that are oppressed by society, because going through different levels and layers of oppression and abuse are never required for you to get to where you're trying to go. But it is looking at life and holding on to those moments where you are in control of your destiny and you can see how the universe is co-collaborating with you always, and saying, I'm ready. I'm ready for the initiation and the challenge that you're giving me to bring me where I'm trying to go.
Beautiful way to end our interview. Megan, thank you so much. You bring so much into this world. How can people get hold of you? Which is the best website?
So my website is themeganrose.com, and you can find me on all social platforms at _Megan Rose.
Okay, so I have your website scrolling at the bottom of the video at the moment. Thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The HerStory movement is attracting some of the most phenomenal women on the planet. I feel really honored to have met you, Megan, because you confirmed for me a lot of knowings that sometimes feel I'm a little bit crazy, but when I meet someone like you, I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy.
There's someone crazier. I'm here.
So thank you for coming into my life this morning. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Come back again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. That was awesome.
Totally awesome. Totally dead on. Totally amazing. You know, it's like completely.
So we're going to have to mute one of your. Okay, so Sarah, we discovered that the connection issue is on my side.
Oh, okay.
My apologies for that. So come out of one of the other devices you're on, because now we have an echo.
Yeah, now I hear an echo. Yeah, I hear that too. Okay, so turn
So
this.
disconnect one of them.
Okay.
And we'll let you do your thing.
Uh-oh.
Ladies, if you could moderate this. I just need to go and take care of this cold, okay? So Sarah will talk for about 15 minutes, then you can come in and do the Q&A with her after she's finished speaking.
Why am I echoing like that?
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you for your patience. Unmute yourself, Sarah.
Did I? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, I can
But
still
I'm still
hear
hearing
the
the echo.
What's that?
I can still hear the echo.
Yeah, me too. So can I.
Hold on. I'm going to remove one of you. Don't worry. Let me do it from this end. Okay, Sarah.
That's better. Oh, no. Okay, so
No,
I'll
it's
turn
still
the
there.
phone off maybe.
Yeah, turn off the phone.
Okay, is that better? No. I wonder
Sarah?
what's doing that. That's crazy.
Has she frozen again, or is it me?
No, it's not that I'm frozen. It's just that the echo is there now.
There she is. Okay. But I still see two devices, so the echo will still be there. Say something, Sarah.
Hello?
Yeah.
You see the echo is the echo is there. What, you see two devices? Is
I
it
see
an
you logged in
email?
twice. Yeah.
Oh, maybe there's two emails going at the same time.
Disconnect the phone or switch off your phone completely.
Yeah, I turned it off. It's off.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Check
I
the
think
email.
that maybe this is really puzzling. What if it's just that I'm connected to two emails? Would that be a problem? Yeah. So
Yes.
maybe I'll go here and start over again.
Is she frozen again, or is it on my
No,
side?
she's not frozen, But you're right, Sarah. If you have two emails open, close one of the emails.
Okay, so I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, close it completely.
Okay, so let me do that. Let's see.
Oops. I'll let you take over, Terry.
Thank you.
This one. Okay. Is that better? No. Okay, let me see. Let me try it again.
Okay, log out of that particular email. Just log out of one of them.
Okay. Okay, is that better?
Oh,
No.
now you have. Now I see you 3 times.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I wish I knew what I was doing on the
Okay.
computer.
On that particular email, are you in the studio?
Yeah.
Okay, go down and say leave studio, and let's see what happens.
Okay, wait. All right, let's do that. Yeah.
On one of the pages.
Studio.
Just
Yeah, that's a good idea.
leave the studio.
Okay.
Should be at the bottom where your controls are if you're on a desktop.
Yeah. Where does it say that?
Okay.
Wait a second here. Over here, right. Okay. I know I did the. Oh, it's so frustrating. Okay, exit here. From here. It can. Is it still echoing? Yes.
Yes, and I still see 3 of you.
Sarah,
Yes.
restart your computer.
The computer.
Just restart your computer. It'll get rid of everything. And then go back to the email and click again.
Okay, that's what I'll do.
I think that's yeah.
He ended up having 3, and I was like, uh-oh. Yeah. When technology works, it works. But we could talk about while we're waiting. We could talk about.
Come on, Miss Ruth.
Okay.
We could talk about Megan's presentation.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's a fascinating young woman.
Yeah, I love her boldness. You know that.
Yes.
It's like, it's not working. Let's just stop and find something that we can work with. And she was led spiritually to do that. And sometimes we have to pay attention spiritually, and do what we need to do. You remember I told you, I said, when I walked off that job, I was like, I'm done. I had already prophesied that all along. I kept saying, my days are numbered. My days are numbered. And then finally one day I came down and told everybody in my department, I'm gone. I've had enough.
Okay, she's back.
I'm back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that normal?
It is.
Perfect.
Oh my God. What? I can't. It's unbelievable. I'm so sorry. I'm when it comes to computers, I do everything on my phone. So I really do. I'm not very good with emails and just, I do it all on the phone. I'm really,
It's okay.
I'm so sorry.
At least you have one device that you do it on. Right now I have 4 devices up. So
Oh no, you know what? It would be too confused. It would be, I should really get get into it. I really should, but I guess because the phone is so portable and I'm always on the go and I'm always walking around and doing things, I'm always doing stuff on the phone. And I just, it's not, the computer
Yeah,
has never been my thing.
you either love the devices or you don't love them. So,
Yeah.
that's just the way it goes. So what we're going to do, Ruth, are you there? Ruth and I are going to take over and give Gertrude a little break. As you can tell, her voice is kind of scratchy.
Sure.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the beginning with you telling us who you are, your full name, how old you are, and then share your story. We're going to do a live podcast. Okay?
Sure.
All righty. You may begin.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sarah Jillian, and I'm in Toronto, Canada. And I'm the big 6-0, and I have quite the story, I suppose. I've spent my life as an artist doing many different types of artwork. I kind of, not just types of artwork, but types of art forms. I've started out as just as a young girl when I was 4 years old, painting and drawing, and but I wanted to be an entertainer, so I told my parents I'd like to entertain. They got me a little tutu, and I would dance around, and I actually felt like I wanted to be a ballerina, but I couldn't go to ballet school because that meant leaving and going off to school. So I ended up going to acting school. It was a little more practical. I could go on the weekends, and I started doing that. And then from there, I went, I suppose I just kept drawing, and I had a real thing for anything to do with my hands. So around 10 years old, I started doing sort of very strange drawings that my parents thought were very strange. And they thought, well, why don't you get them printed off and we can run cards? We can make little greeting cards. And I thought, okay, that's kind of a fun idea. And I took the greeting card idea to a printer, and they thought that it was really a good idea to maybe have an art show. So they did an art show with my art, and that was probably the age of about 8 or 9. So then I took my cards and I started selling my cards, and I still was taking acting, and I still wanted to be an actress, and I wanted to be an entertainer, but I was maybe in grade 9 and I decided to write a children's story. And I was writing as well as drawing, and I came up with a book, and I was taken to a very big publisher in Canada, but I didn't want to work with him because I didn't want to go in after school. If you can imagine, you're young and you don't want to hang out with a publisher. You want to go to, do stuff. So I didn't take him up on his offer to work on my book, and that was in grade 9. Then in grade 10, I left home because my parents separated, and I was living on my own, and I started making miniature guitars. I was inspired because I was always going to bars, and at bars, I was actually working lights for bands. So I was, again, doing something creative. And then I started making these miniature guitars, and I started selling them, and I would sell them to really exclusive stores in the Toronto area. And actually at one point I was selling them in a vintage store, and this was back in 1977 or 8. And Mick Jagger came in and said that he really liked them and bought 2 of them. And I heard that he had said that he was going to give them to his wife, who at the time was Jerry Hall. So that really inspired me. And I was like, oh, isn't that cool? Mick Jagger bought one of my pins. And I kept going with that. And I decided, though, after I had a little bit of a problem because I was doing a lot of things at the time. I was going to school, I was working part time, and I was doing these guitar pins. And, I got into taking painkillers because I had a headache, and quite often, while I was working, and got into opioids, and ended up with a bit of an addiction, to say the least. And at that point in my life, I think after high school, I wanted to go off and go to New York City, and that's where my mother had gone to live, and be an actress. But I went there and decided that I didn't feel that I could deal with it very well, because I was sent to one of the largest casting directors in New York at the time, and she thought I was fabulous and it was going to work really well for myself. But I felt in my heart that I was really disjointed and I was really messed up, and I knew that if I'd stayed, it just would have been the wrong move for me. It would have meant that I would have lost myself in the business, and lost myself maybe even 100%. Like, you know, so I went back to Toronto, and there I decided that I was going to get rid of the drug addiction. And unfortunately, what ended up happening was I stopped the drugs, and I said to myself, that's it. I'm never going to do it again. But my body and your mind, takes over when you've been addicted to something. And this was over a period of about 5 years. So my body and my mind decided to not sleep for maybe 5 weeks. And it was, my parents didn't know what was going on with me, and they thought I was, going nutty. So they put me in a hospital, and I didn't know what was going on. And I ended up in the psychiatric unit, and I was embarrassed to tell anybody that I was a drug addict. I thought that would be the worst thing that I could possibly say. So I didn't say anything, and I was young and I didn't know what that meant. If you don't say anything, they don't know what to do with you, and they really don't know what is wrong with you. So I continued to not say anything. And eventually the doctor said, well, we don't know what's wrong with her. We sort of think that maybe she's bipolar. So they labeled me. So I ended up coming out of the hospital with a label, not knowing that a label would be actually to my detriment, and to be not good at all, that I was better off, confessing that I was a drug addict. Little did I know that, but I went to my family doctor and I told her, I said, I can't move. They had put me on a medication that was way too strong, and I had sort of a very bad reaction to it. And she took me off it because I confessed to her that I was a drug addict at the time, and I had stopped cold turkey, and those were the side effects that I had, which were not being able to sleep and getting crazy. So it was a misdiagnosis. So I continued at that point. I went off the drugs that they had put into me, and I went off, and I became I had a funny offer from a girlfriend who said, would you like to be a clown for a day? And I thought, okay, I'll try that. So I got into clowning, and I got into it very big, actually, because I ended up having a clown business, and I ended up employing 10 clowns. What ended up happening was I had gone to do some promotional work, and they really, really liked my whole, my whole attitude. And they said, why don't you, Sarah, get 10 more clowns that will act just like you, and we'll pay them, and then we'll will pay you, and then you pay them. And so it worked out really well because they were paid quite a bit, and I would cut their pay in half, and I would take half of that. And and so they were making quite a bit of money, and it was only a 4-day a week job, and it worked out fantastic for all of us, and we had a great deal of fun. And then all of a sudden, I got the baby bug and decided to have a child. And I was at home with my child, and I ended up writing a series of books based on when my son was a little older. He had difficulty falling asleep, and I was inspired to write a story about a little boy that had difficulty falling asleep, and it ended up turning into a series. And it was based on making your dreams come true. And I think that was a big, it was a big thing for me, because that was an expression of how I was feeling, that I really wanted to make my dreams come true. And these books were, I mean, I think with an artist, anything that you're doing it's self-expression. So a lot of my paintings have ballerinas in them. I think that every painting has a ballerina in it, in a very, I do very tiny little drawings, and you have to look very close into them, but you will see ballerinas doing all different kinds of things, holding balloons and holding cupcakes, and being in ice cream cones. But with my books, that was an expression, a deep feeling that I had to make my dreams come true. And one of those dreams was to be an actress. So after the books were done, I thought, well, gee, you know what? I don't want to do books anymore. I want to go back into acting. And now I'm starring in, well, I've done a couple of feature films, and I'm working, waiting for the third one, which is going to be a musical. And apparently, I'm starring in that with a writer, a director from California who does reality shows, and he has cast me as this kooky character in Toronto. And it's so much fun, and I'm doing what I want to do. And I also have some artwork coming out on a pixel project at the end of, it was supposed to be the end of April. So they notified me, and it's coming out soon. It'll be on Women at Picto Project, I believe. And also I'm featured on Dr. Jacqueline, I believe is her name, and she has a podcast as well. So I'm starting to pick up my career as an actress. So it's all very exciting, and I'm very happy, and I feel like I'm finally doing what I initially wanted to do. And I was sidetracked, I suppose, with my other abilities, and I sort of see myself as being a chameleon artist that's gone from one thing to another, just continuously creating. And that's my story.
Sarah, that's fascinating. Fascinating.
Thank you.
What I see is that you did not let that deter you from your original goal. Okay. What you did, you got involved in areas that kept adding, and adding
Yes.
to your worth. Unbeknown to you, you were developing to where you are now. And isn't it amazing how we get involved in things, and all
Yeah.
of a sudden we get into the big picture?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. It's and listening to your other guests talk about, you just let you get to a point where you say, I'm going back to my gut, to what I feel from the universe, what the universe is telling me, and to guide you more into who you are, and to listen to those little clues and to be more connected. And I wake up now every morning, I have my coffee, and then I do yoga, and I connect myself back to sort of align me into my goals for the day and what I'm going to be doing and how I feel and my energies. And then I do aerobics for an hour. And then I get the endorphins going and really bring myself to my strengths, to back to me. And I you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. I
On my calendar, the first thing I do is meditation, and then I go and do my walk, and I just try to begin my day quietly, and I end my day quietly as well. All my devices go off at 8 p.m. And I used to do that when I was working, and it allows me to make sure that I get enough rest, make sure I am refreshed, because your body heals itself when you're at rest. And you may have had some trauma all day, and it's like, okay, we have to, like the kids say, chillax a little bit,
yeah,
And so, when you get a certain age, you have to set those boundaries, and you have to set those boundaries for yourself and for your peace of mind.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I do the same thing. It's the same thing. Nightly rituals and morning rituals, and then it's chaos during the day, right? You don't know what's going to happen. You can go to the store and something crazy is going to happen. People are going to rebound off you, and you're going to be there's all kinds of things that are going to happen. But to take the time in the morning, and like you say, to take the time at night, it's really important.
Yeah, and
Go ahead,
and
Ruth.
what I liked is that Sarah, you just grew into your trade, as it were, into the different gifts of arts. The acting, the ballerina, the clowning, and you're making money. Isn't that awesome? And then the writing, you wrote a series of books.
Mm-hmm.
That's been amazing, hey?
Thank you. Yes,
No,
Well
the
done.
books. Yeah.
no,
Sorry, you
it's
were
okay.
saying that. No, the books um, were very funny, and the children. At that point, I think I'd even said to myself, I think I've come to the end of my journey of art, but it's not never the end until you're dead. So
Yeah.
I had to keep going, and there was more coming out of me, So it was like, oh, this isn't the end. I thought it was going to be, but it's not, And then more came, which
Mhm.
was the idea that I was, during the pandemic when we were all in lockdown, and we couldn't leave our homes, in Canada. They were very strict, and they said, you can't leave for months, and I thought, I don't want to be doing books. I don't want to be doing my artwork. I did a few little sculptures, but I thought, what I'd like to do is the get out and really express myself again as an actress. And that's what I'm doing.
Wow.
So I'm happy that I've come around to that expression as well.
Okay. That was great. That was great. But there's one thing that I'm curious about, and probably some people that are listening, we fail sometimes to not tell our doctors and everything what is truly going on with us, for fear that we probably will be criticized.
Absolutely.
And so, that intrigued me about you. You finally decided for yourself, okay, I got to do something. I got to do something. Then, I can't have them prescribe one type of medicine. And then you woke up and said, hey, you guys, this is what's going on with me. Am I reading that right?
Well, yeah, there was actually, it went on to, I mean, it was a little, the story kind of gets deeper and deeper into that, because once you have a label, particularly in the Canadian healthcare system, and they have labeled you on a file with, you know, your label being bipolar. Mine was bipolar, and it was on those files in the hospital. That meant that anytime I was to enter a hospital in Toronto, that label was there, and they were ready to inject me back with that medication. So it meant that no matter what I told anybody, and what I had been going through my whole life was that I would say in a hospital, I don't take that. I am not that. I was a drug, you know, and I try to explain myself. When you are when you are labeled with a label like that, people do not listen. And
Mm.
they did not take me seriously, and they would put me in little rooms and inject me against my will. So that's another thing that I was dealing with. So if you, you know, you think that, you know, once you leave and you straighten it out with your family doctor, there's more to it, because there's the files that are kept in the hospitals. And what happened with me was, it was quite scary, because I had relationships where people, for instance, my husband, who was a sort of controlling type of character, when I wanted to end the relationship several times, threatened me and said, "You're crazy, and I'm putting you in the hospital." So once you're in the hospital, you end up,
Yeah.
you know, then again, you're told that you're that crazy person. So I had to over time, you know, it was very difficult for me, because it wasn't that I wasn't that person. However, that label was there. So, you know, and I think that there's a chance there's other people with that
Mm.
happening to them, and it's
Mhm.
scary, really.
Mhm. It
Wow.
is.
And
But
you know what I think that ends up happening to somebody like that, like myself, I think you end up with, uh, it's, you know, post-traumatic stress, because you have anxiety about being put in that situation again.
Mhm. Mhm. I agree. I agree. But you came out victorious.
Yeah. Thank you.
Not
Thank
a
you very
victim.
much. Thank you.
Great. Gertrude, did you have anything you would like to add to that?
Wow, Miss Sarah always fascinates me. I love to share her with people. When we first met, we talked for hours, and yes, your story is truly inspiring, Sarah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, I
Keep
just
doing what you're doing.
thank you.
Absolutely inspiring.
Thank you.
So, ladies,
Okay.
let's move on to our next speaker. Sarah, you're welcome to stay with
Thank
us as long as you
Thank
like
you so
and
much.
be a part
Thank
of the
you
panel
so
if you
much
need to
for
go.
having me. And you know, the only thing I can really end this whole thing with is to say that you just have to keep going and just go for what you know is in your heart.
Yeah, that's
Thank
wonderful.
you so
Thank you,
much for
Sarah.
having me, Gertrude.
Okay. Thank
Bye.
Take
you.
care. Wonderful to see you again. Bye
Nice to
bye.
see you too. Bye bye.
Oh, wow. It's interesting. The way I was experiencing Sarah, I
Mhm.
could see the two of you moving, but her video kept freezing for me.
Oh,
That's
okay.
yeah. That's why I was saying
Yeah, because
something
when you
is
called
wrong with
my
the video.
attention to it, I was like, I don't see what you're seeing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the connection issues is on my side. So
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
apologies to her for that.
Yes.
So I have just tested positive for COVID, ladies.
I kind of thought that's
Oh.
what you were doing.
I am absolutely gutted. I miss my
Oh.
son's graduation. I'm
When is
just
it?
crushed. It's
I know.
tomorrow.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
She was going to
Mm.
leave today. Yeah.
I was just, yeah, after this, I'll dash to the airport.
Yeah.
So, you girls need to carry me today. Line
Okay.
up the next video. Life has to go on.
Is it
Okay.
Katie's video?
Who's next?
Go ahead, Ruth.
Katie Harridan?
Hey.
Okay. You want us to go? Oh, Ruth, you're
Do you
on.
have it? I can go through the bio.
Mm-hmm.
Harridan made her literary debut at 10 years of age, when she won a writing contest by crafting a tale about her favorite childhood hero, Hank the Cowdog. After that, Katie has continued to write through college and graduate school and during her career as a pediatric neuropsychologist. But while Katie enjoyed being a doctor, scientific research didn't bring her nearly as much joy as creating her own characters and words. So she slowly left the medical world behind to focus exclusively on writing. In 2018, she self published a poetry book, Once Upon a Girl, and her work has been featured in Highlights Hello Magazine, The Blue Nip, Youth Imagination Magazine, Red Face, The Red Penguin Review, Sand Canyon Review, and Everyday Fiction, to name a few. Her debut young adult fantasy novel, Rain Returned, will be published by Spark Press September 2022. She loves sharing her writing with others who feel different, misunderstood, or alone. Katie lives in Northern California with her husband and two very demanding kids.
Hi, Gertrude. Thank you so much for that lovely welcome. My name is Katie Harridan. I'm based outside of San Francisco in California, here in the United States. I am 39 years old, and I am so incredibly excited to be here to share my story with these incredible other women. Mine is a story of resilience, and while I can promise you there is a happy ending, it did not necessarily start out that way. I was born into a family where there's a lot of love, but there was also a lot of trauma. And this trauma went unhealed. And unfortunately, when generational trauma is not addressed, it is continued to be passed down from one woman to the next. While my parents did the absolute best that they could, they also made a lot of mistakes, like other parents, and things happened that I look back on and know that I'm stronger for having gone through, but I still wish that I would not have had to have endured the abuse that I suffered. As a child, my escape was books. I lived for our weekly trips to the library. I would bring home as many books as my little childhood arms could carry, and I lost myself in stories where there was no fighting, where there was always enough acceptance to go around. I dreamed of living in a home where I felt like people understood me and people wanted to be involved in my life. I was a very nerdy, introverted little girl. My best childhood friend was my horse for a very long time. And I found such comfort in stories where women weren't defined by their pasts or the things that they had been through. They were defined by who they were and the contributions that they made. And I would read these books and I would think, someday that's the kind of person I'm going to be. I'm going to leave this small town. I'm going to leave this abusive household. I'm going to strike out on my own. And I am going to run my own life and make my own choices and decisions. And while I thought that, and I knew that's what I wanted for myself, actually putting it into practice turned out to be so incredibly challenging. And one of the reasons for that is because, particularly for children who grow up in households full of trauma and abuse, you learn coping mechanisms because you have to in order to survive. And one of the things that I internalized was being a people pleaser. I thought if I could just say the right thing, if I could just do the right thing, my parents would love me, they would accept me, I wouldn't be in trouble. And so I became an astute observer of human behavior. I also became fantastic at walking on eggshells, but this was only so that I could protect myself. And while this was not the childhood I would have envisioned for myself, at the same time, I became really good at learning to recognize human behavior. And this actually propelled me on an academic path into studying psychology, why people do the things that they do, why they behave the way they do, why they make certain choices. And so I actually ended up leaving home and going to college at what now is, to me, the appallingly young age of 17. But I could not stay in that household any longer. So I actually skipped a grade. I graduated early and headed off to college, where I was positive I would find so many more people like me who loved to read, who loved really in-depth conversations about all kinds of existential issues. And I did not realize that unless you work through the things that you've been through, wherever you go, you always take yourself with you. So while I thought college would be this magic escape for me where all of a sudden my life would fall into place, it didn't happen. I ended up making choices that came from deep wounds within inside of myself. I did not pick good partners to be with. I did not make good choices about how to treat my body. And while some part of me knew there was a better way, I struggled to know how to put that into practice. I felt so alone and ashamed to even mention having some of these struggles. I also grew up in a very religious household where certain doctrines were used as reasons why terrible behavior was acceptable. And even as I grew away from that and I knew that wasn't the life that I wanted for myself, it's so difficult to overcome the programming that we receive as children. So I made it through my undergrad program, graduated with a bachelor's in psychology, and I then obtained a master's degree in public health, specializing in social and behavioral health, because I kept thinking, I don't want other people to experience what I have. I want to help people be better, do better, make better choices so that other children don't have to grow up feeling like the safest place in the world is somewhere in the pages of a book. I also obtained a master's degree in psychology, and then I began to pursue a doctorate in the field of clinical psychology. While I was doing this, again, now that I'm 39 and I look back at these things, I'm appalled at how young I was. But I ended up getting married at the age of 24. And again, I thought that, well, if college wasn't the answer to all of my life problems and to fixing myself and stopping that ache inside of me and helping me to be the person I wanted to be, well, then surely getting married was going to fix all of that. And you can already imagine where this is going. I ended up marrying a man with a very deep psychological issues, particularly related to the area of addiction. And I could see the potential that was in him. And as my heart leads me, I want to help people. I want to often save them from themselves. And while it's a great thing to want to help others, you can't do that at the cost of sacrificing your own self. And very soon into this marriage, I realized that I had made a terrible mistake, and I found myself in another physically, emotionally, and verbally abusive situation. I was terrified, but I didn't feel that I could tell anyone about this because, again, growing up in the church and having this religious background, marriage was supposed to be for life. And anything bad that was happening to me had to be either my fault or it was a lesson I was supposed to be learning in order to become a better person somehow. So the years went by. I graduated with my doctorate. I completed an internship at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, Kennedy Krieger Institute. I completed a 2-year research fellowship in neuropsychological and cognitive testing at Children's National Medical Center in DC. And I started off down the tenure track in academia. And I specialized in working with children who were being treated for cancer, who had either a brain tumor or a leukemia diagnosis. And while I loved the work, in looking back, I tried to lose myself in the work because, again, focusing on helping other people made me feel valuable and that I was doing something worthwhile. And it was valuable and it was worthwhile, but I wasn't taking the time that I needed to really focus on myself and the issues that I needed to be addressing in order to heal. So as time went on, I started having more and more challenges in my marriage, and really a few situations came up where I was forced to look at things and say, is this really the life that I want for myself every single day? And eventually, I somehow, within me, probably pulling from those original female characters that I loved so much, I finally found the strength to file for divorce. And I decided that the unknown was so much better than what I did know. And that as terrifying as it would be to strike out on my own, to go against everything that I had been taught, none of that could be worse than staying in such a terrible situation. As I filed for divorce and went through the process of all the paperwork and court proceedings, unfortunately, the man that I was married to lost his own struggle with his mental health issues and his addiction challenges, and he ended up committing suicide. And this was tragic. This is something I would never want for anyone. And at 34 years old, I was a widow. And I actually, if I ever wrote an essay about this time in my life, I've always said that I would entitle it Partially Divorced Widow, because our divorce proceedings never actually went through. He ended his life before that happened. So at 34, I was widowed and had no idea what on earth I was going to do and how I was going to move forward. But I also saw this as a time of opportunity. I felt like everything around me had collapsed. My entire life had fallen apart, and I was buried beneath the ashes of everything that I thought I knew. But sometimes being buried beneath the ashes is what you need in order to rise. And I love the image of a phoenix rising from the ashes, because to me, that's a mental image I carry of resilience. And somehow within myself, I found the strength to go on. And I decided, you know what? Life is too short to spend doing what other people think I should be doing. Life is too short and too precious to spend trying to please other people and make them happy. And at that point, I made the decision to leave academia behind. I had been on the East Coast and I moved back to the West Coast, back to California, where I'd gone to graduate school. And I was fortunate enough to be able to transition into a private practice that allowed me the time to return to my true passion, which was words and stories. And I began working on my first novel at this time. And it was such an incredibly cathartic experience for me to be able to take the experiences I'd had and put them onto paper and to see how I would face things if I was these characters, putting myself into these characters, letting myself make the decisions that I wished I would have been able to make at different times or even in fictitious situations. And I Never in my entire life did I think that I would make the transition from a research scientist to a full-time young adult author, but it has been the absolute most amazing decision. That is not to say it's been easy. It's been terrifying. I did not have a lot of support when I made this decision to do this. People tended to think that I was crazy, even though they knew that I was a good writer. I'd published in scientific and academic journals, so I had some kind of a resume there to say, yes, from a peer-reviewed perspective, your writing is good, but I'd never tried anything in the world of fiction, much less fantasy. So it was a huge leap. But what I learned from that is you'll never know if you don't try. And I will forever be grateful to myself that I tried. And not everything I've done has worked out. There've definitely been difficulties and challenges and things that I'm still working through and figuring out, but I have never been happier than doing whatever it took to listen to my heart and to put myself first, which is not something as women we are taught to do. I certainly didn't grow up that way. I grew up thinking that you needed to cater to the needs of everyone else and take care of them. And then if there was anything left over, then that's what you got. And that was a good day's work done. Now I view my life much more like when you're on an airplane and they tell you, put on your own oxygen mask first and then help the people around you. And because I'm in a better mental space, I'm better able to help the people around me. And I might not do it through cognitive testing or therapy, but I do it with words.
What an incredible story, Katie. Oh my gosh, you have been through so much.
I have for 39, it's a lot.
Oh gosh. So what do you do to keep yourself so positive? Do you have a daily practice? Do you meditate? What do you do?
That's a fantastic question. So one of the most important things to getting me to the mental health space that I'm in now was therapy. Absolutely. Definitely working with qualified, caring therapist has been huge in helping me to overcome things that I never thought I could. As far as a daily practice, I wake up every morning and find something to be grateful for, something that I'm thankful for. Some mornings that's really easy. Some mornings, the only thing I can think of is I'm thankful for this mattress underneath me here. Yoga has been a huge help for me. And I don't naturally tend to have a very quiet brain. So anything that requires me to slow down, anything like meditating, breath work, guided imagery, anything like that has been incredibly helpful in just centering myself and being able to say, okay, I'm here, I'm present, this is how I'm doing today. And now how can I move forward and hopefully have a positive impact on other people?
Absolutely incredible. Now, if you were to take yourself back, let's imagine that time is an illusion and time doesn't exist. And I take you back to that young woman who got married, things were going wrong. There must have been something that told you in the beginning that this wasn't the right move and you didn't trust it, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
So, if there is a young woman who's experiencing exactly this right now, what 3 nuggets of wisdom would you tell her?
First, I would say listen to your own intuition. You're feeling the things that you are for a reason. Second, I would say you're not alone. You may feel like it. You may look around and not see anyone, but just because you can't see people does not mean that there's not a community out there waiting to support you. There is. And third, I would say be gentle with yourself. It's so easy to look back in hindsight and say, I should have done this, I should have done that. But you will know when you're ready to finally take that step and to act. And until then, whatever anyone says is not going to have any kind of an impact on you. But when you're ready, there's a community and your intuition was right all along.
I absolutely love that. That is just
Thank
some
you.
beautiful nuggets of wisdom.
Oh, thank you.
Did you have children? Were there any children involved?
No, thankfully there were not.
Mm.
We did have a yellow Labrador who was like my child, but there were no children involved. I think that was,
Okay.
in hindsight, that was actually a blessing
Yeah.
because
Mm.
they did not have to suffer and experience the things that I did. So that
Yes.
was, yes, yes, thank
What about
goodness.
breaking out of your family bondage? What
Yes.
what what did you do? Because a lot of people get trapped in religion and culture. Tell me how you
So, one of the first things for me that was really helpful was internally just being open to new ideas, to new experiences, to new people, to new ways of thinking. I think we often, especially people who grow up in a very, as you said, a bondage type situation, you start to think that there's only one way of being and one way of existing. But once you get out of that very small little circle that you've been living in, and you start to go places and experience other people and other cultures, it's amazing how eye opening that can be. For me, travel was huge because not only did it take me out of what I knew, it showed me there were alternatives. And seeing other people living their lives, making choices, and doing things differently than I ever would have done was so inspirational to me because I would say, I never knew there was another way that you could do that. I never knew there was a different way of thinking about marriage, that it doesn't have to be for life, that it can be mutually beneficial for both partners. So it's the more you can get out there and be open and have new experiences, it's so phenomenally helpful for shifting your mindset.
Okay, so let's finish off with your books and your writing and the passion that has led you down this new career path. What do you write about? Where can people get your books?
Perfect. So I actually, as a way of processing everything that I've been through, I self-published a poetry book that is currently available on either Bookshop or Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, and it's called Once Upon a Girl. And it's all about when life crashes to pieces around you, what do you do? How do you move forward? And it's the story of my journey told through poetry in moving forward. That was such an incredible experience that I wanted to keep pursuing my writing. And I've been incredibly fortunate to find a fantastic publisher, Spark Press, to work with. And on September 13th of this year, my young adult fantasy novel, Rain Returned, will be published and it will be available online, in stores, wherever books are sold. And it's a coming of age story featuring enemies to lovers. And it revolves around a healer and an assassin who are forced to work together in order to master outlawed magic. And as they uncover secrets within their realms, they also uncover secrets within their own pasts that turn out to be far more intertwined than they ever imagined. Should be fun.
I love it. I can see that you are just so loving the space you're in.
I am.
Congratulations for taking control of your life and making the choices that you wanted for you.
Yes.
And that's the thing that we sometimes forget as women, that the choice is always ours. And you
Yes.
don't have to be afraid. You don't have to conform. Do what's good for you. Beautiful way for us to end this amazing interview. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. Yet another creative young woman.
Yes, thanks for tuning in. Ruth, Are you still there? Or are we having technical difficulties? It's amazing.
Yeah.
All of our guests have just been simply amazing today. They've displayed a lot of resilience and a lot of just insight
Creativity,
over what they
courage.
want to do.
Yeah, very, very fascinating group of women. I was really fascinated when I tuned into the first woman and then this last woman. Very, very, very fascinating stories. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the courage to break out
I
of
know. I
of
agree.
the mold and of moving out of the traditional setups and all that. That's been amazing.
Yeah, it's going with your gut feelings, you know. It's just you know, you get to a point where you've got, you know, it's my philosophy is this: you're only given this body, that's it, and that's the only guarantee you have in life, that you're going to be stuck in your body. That's it, and the rest of it, you have to, it's like an ongoing experience. It's just you you just you I can't really, it's hard for me to articulate how what I'm trying to say, but you're just, you know, you just have to sort of go with
You just have to go with it.
every day,
That's basically what it is. You
one
just
day at a time, and just go
one
with
Yeah.
day.
your gut.
Mhm.
You just do,
Yes.
and we lose that. We totally lose it